On this full level, we're going to be working on adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. And so when we have unlike denominators, like 5, 6 plus 7 eighths, things get a little bit harder because we have to find a common denominator first, which means we have to come up with a number that 6 and 8 go into to make our denominators the same. And so I know that I'm going to think about my bigger number first, 8. And I'm going to just think about 8. 6 can't go into 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 6 can't go into 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 6 does go into 24, so I'm going to try and make both my denominators 24. And the way that I do that is by multiplying. 6 times 4 is 24, so I'm going to multiply the top by 4. Then I'm just multiplying by 1, because 4 over 4 is 1. And over here, 8 times 3 is 24, so if I multiply the bottom by 3, I'm going to multiply the top by 3, so that it stays equal, because we're multiplying by 3 over 3, which is 1. So 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 6 is 24, plus 7 times 3 is 21, over 8 times 3 is 24. Now that I have common denominators, I can just add straight across. So 20 plus 21 is 41. Over 24. I don't think that I can simplify this, but I do know that it's an improper fraction because my numerator is bigger than my denominator. So I'm going to say 24 goes into 41 once, and it has a remainder of 17, I believe, because if I count on 24 up to 30 is 6. And then 31 would be one more, so that's 7 plus another 10 to get to 41 is 17. Yeah, so 1 and 17 24ths. Now, I had a positive plus a positive, so my answer should be positive. 17 over 24 is in simplest form. And so my answer for 5, 6 plus 7 eighths is 1 and 17 24ths. On this next one, it gets a little tricky because we also have different signs to keep track of. So again, I'm going to look at my denominators 3 and 4 and think, what number do they both go into? 4 goes into 8, but 3 does not. 4 goes into 12, and 3 does go into 12. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 3 to get to 12, and then I multiply the numerator by the same. 3 times 4 gets to 12, so I'm going to multiply the numerator on this fraction by the same. So 4 times 2 is 8 over 12 plus negative 3 times 3 is 9 over 12. When I have same signs, I add and keep, but when I have different signs, negative and a positive, I subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. Keep the sign of the higher number, which is negative, and then I keep my denominator of 12. This number is in simplest form. It's not an improper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator. And so 2/3 plus negative 3/4 is equal to 8/12 plus negative 9/12. And when I do my addition, I get negative 1/12 as my final answer. If you feel like you're ready to move on and try a couple on your own, you may do that now. If you're not ready, you can keep watching. Negative 2/7 plus 1/3. I'm thinking about a number that both 7 and 3 can go into, and I think that the number they both go into is 21. So I'm thinking about how can I get from 7 to 21? Well, I multiply by 3. So I would have to multiply the numerator by the same. And 3 times what gives me 21? 3 times 7. So if I multiply the denominator, I have to multiply the numerator by the same thing. And so this first fraction, 3 times 2 is 6. Over 3 times 7 is 21. Don't forget that that's negative. Plus the second fraction, 1 times 7 is 7. 3 times 7 is 21. And so negative 6 plus positive 7 over 21. A negative plus a positive, I have to subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. And keep the sign of the higher number, which is positive. And then I keep my denominator. And negative 2/7 plus 1/3 is positive 1/21. And then this very last one, negative 1/6 plus negative 1/3. The denominators are not the same, so I have to make a like denominator. 3 can go into 6, so all I have to do is change the denominator on the second one. The first one can stay the same. Negative 1/6 plus 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. Keep the negative sign with it. So now I have a common denominator, and I can add straight across the top. Negative 1 plus negative 2 is equal to negative 3. Keep my denominator. And I'm going to simplify this because 3 goes into 3 and 6. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And this whole thing is negative. So negative 1/6 plus negative 1/3 is equal to negative 1/2.